I'm going to do an insight video today, and just going into the energy today. Over the last couple of days, I felt like there's quite a shift with energy. There's a lot to do with, like, again, the universal rhythm, like cycles of growth, cycles of expansion. Um, I'm feeling very much sort of like over the last couple of days, there's been sort of definitely some sort of like insights and wisdom and understanding around sort of like releasing and dissolving as well. Um, the universal law of rhythm is very much around sort of like growth and cycles of sort of like energy that will come in and come into your energy center and into your energy field, and then it's released. I feel sort of like this is going on like on an individual level and also like an infinite level again. Um, Another thing that's come into my mind over the last couple of days is like limitation. How we're all sort of like caught up in like things like limitation. We get caught up in sort of like the flow of the universe. When it flows in, it's like things are in harmony, things are in balance, things are in presence, things are in peace, and we tend to be more sort of like grounded, and we're more sort of like aligned. And I feel that there's been a lot of like shifting around that over the last couple of days. I feel this quite strongly. I personally have felt this over the last couple of days. There's a lot of things that have been coming in, and it's about sort of like just being able to sort of let things go and start to allow the new energies to sort of integrate and start to sort of manifest and create magic and wonder within our own lives. And this is again sort of connects to like the universal law of rhythm, but also the universal like looking at like limitations and not being limited. Sort of like last couple of days, I felt like there's lots of energy around me, and it's sort of like there's the things that have been going on that base that I should be sort of like releasing and letting go. And this is why I feel like there's a connection to this universal law of rhythm at the moment. Um, the fact that these energies are coming in, and you're sort of like being sort of guided, and you're being sort of like guided to look at this energy and start looking at how you can release it, move through it, transform it, dissolve it, and start to sort of like create again in a different vibration, a different frequency. Again, this connects to the universal law of vibration and frequency, but it's also coming back to the universal law of one again. It connects to the universal law of attraction, where it's very much around sort of again we're looking at sort of like the vibration of frequency that we're giving out as spiritual beings will start to sort of manifest and create and attract opportunities, which is what's needed at the moment. We need to sort of like shift and shed a lot of energy to start to move through, to again sort of be in this state of being, this state of presence. There's a lot going on. Like, you've got the universal law of inspired action, which is very much around sort of intuition and listening to self. There's many things that are going on, and it's about balance at the moment. Balance is so important as we go through this sort of change, and opening up again and opening up. But there's sort of like I talk about the universal law of correspondence again, which is about the inner world. Again, I feel like there's something going on with the external world and the internal world, where they're trying to be integrated again, because I felt this over the last couple of days, where I feel very much within my own sort of experience and my own journey. The external world's been very sort of like quick, and it's been very sort of impactful, with things going on, and I'm being sort of like more directed again to go back into the inner world and sort of like create and use vibration and frequency to dissolve and move through things. Limitation is an important one, because I think there are many experiences and many things that are going on in our external sort of like reality, like the 3D reality, where there's challenges and there's things that are coming up for each and every one of us, for us to have like a new awareness, a new understanding of how we approach them, how we dissolve them, and how we start to apply our vibration and our frequency to this. It's going to take a bit of work to sort of like ground yourself in and start to integrate these new vibrations that are coming in, and they're definitely sort of like coming in for many of us. And again, I've talked about this sense of like the infinite eye. And when I did I did like a reading a couple of days, or an insight sort of video a couple of days ago, where the masters were talking about um, the whole this sense of like I, and how this is sort of like the eye is connected to all. Is connected to this all sense of like this oneness, that our own individual experiences are connected to a bigger collective design, a collective consciousness. And I feel this is what's going on, and this is why there's like a sense of awakening. And it's sort of like, so the energies that are coming in are sort of like vibrating on a different frequency, and that they're asking us to release and let go of things. They're asking us to move through things, and cycles again. This comes back to this universal law of rhythm, and the cycles that many of us have been through. You will find at this time that you keep going back to different cycles that maybe have sort of already been sort of like, you've had these cycles through your life, and you'll be sort of like taken back to them, and it's about dissolving, it's about releasing. When they talk about like, in the sense of like a collective consciousness, each and every one of us are starting to sort of like become more aligned with like our infinite selves, or our higher selves. So we're being sort of like awakened in a way, like through part of the ascension process, to start to move through things that have been cycles that have been repeated. And what we're doing is we're going through these cycles, then to sort of like come out or dissolve them, to then what will be left is like a new vibration, a new frequency. And this is again part of the, I feel like a collective sort of shifting and changing for many of us. And each of us are, in this grand design, are interconnected, we're interlinked. So all these things that are going on are sort of like bringing us back into wholeness, bringing us back into oneness. And this is what this time's about. You sort of like, when I sat there and did a reading on Monday, I felt very sort of like connected to the masses and the teachings that were coming through, and I felt like the energy was just flowing through. But also, when these sort of times come up, it's sort of like it's about sort of like, when these things come up in our lives, where these challenges and these cycles come up, it's a time of great opportunity. It's a time of great learning. It's a time of great shifting and changing, and this is why they come up. But they're also an opportunity to align to a new sort of vibration, a new frequency, as we move forward, as we start to vibrate in a different way, and we start to create and manifest on a whole new sort of awareness, a whole new vibration frequency that allows us to create. And again, this is about attracting. It's coming back into the flow of the universe, and this time is very much around that. And I feel like this is what's going on for a lot of us. I feel like as I start to get into the energy, that my light and my energy and my vibration, my frequency of my sort of like spiritual vibration then starts to connect and integrate with my physical body. My physical body vibrates in a different way, where it becomes lighter, brighter, it becomes more vibrant. And I feel this is what's going on at the moment. Many of us are sort of like tuning in into like a new way of being, in a sense. And many of us, and it's sort of like the cycles of rhythm are very much around sort of like cycles of awakening, where we wake up, and we start to see our lives in a very different sort of like spiritually conscious way. And this is what this time's about, and this is what many of us are doing. We're starting to wake up and align on a different frequency. But I also feel like sort of like, people talk about Lemuria, and they talk about sort of Atlantis, and they talk about the fifth dimensional vibration. As I start to connect into the energy, I feel like there's beings around us, or around me, as I specifically get into this energy at the moment, and I feel they're with me, and I'm vibrating on a frequency that they're vibrating on, which is a higher frequency. So what's happening is the universal law of vibration and frequency, you're aligning with it more. And what it's doing is it's opening up your consciousness, it's opening up your understanding, it's opening you up to become more of a channel for awareness and insight. And when we start to do this, we start to then get into a state of being where the beings can start to like come in, and they can start to communicate, and they can start to bring insight and awareness, and they start to connect and sort of communicate with you. And again, this connects very much with the universal law of inspired action, which is very much around intuition, spiritual action, spiritual presence, spiritual understanding and wisdom. But again, it brings illumination, which is where we start to once again integrate the soul wisdom, but also integrate the soul qualities that we have as we start to awaken. But it's also about bringing it's starting to align again to a state of consciousness where we can be open channels to start to receive, and start to walk in a more spiritual light, in a spiritual way. And this is what this time's about. And again, this is what the grand design is about us awakening, and being more spiritually aware and more spiritually in tune and aligned, that we start to sort of live our lives in a more spiritual way. And this is what this time's about. But I do feel it's quite a big, like for many of us, we're going to be going through quite a big shift and change with growth, and sort of like dissolving and moving through. And this is the thing is though, when I start to get into this, you know, the whole of our spiritual, you know, experience is a constant, it's a constant sort of ebb and flow of like energy coming in. So we're constantly dissolving, we're constantly releasing, we're constantly sort of shifting and changing our consciousness. Um, when you look at like the universal law of vibration and frequency, and you look at like a radio, and you turn it up, and it's got different sort of like I don't know, waves that when you turn it up and down, you sort of like you get different stations. We're very much sort of like, I feel like that's what's going on for many of us at the moment, that we're sort of like we're aligning, we're tuning in, but we're tuning into many different frequencies at once, and these different frequencies then are starting to align with us. And as that goes on, then what will happen is our spiritual bodies and our spiritual energy will start to sort of integrate, and it will start to manifest in many different ways. And this is part of the design as well. I feel this is part of what's going on for many of us at the moment. So I mean, even talking about the sort of like this, doing this kind of insight this morning, I was like, I've woken up and I've had a lot of things that have been going on externally, you know, a lot of external pressures, and even sort of like aligning now is like everything's become lighter, everything's become brighter, everything's become more sort of like it's releasing things, it's shifting things. And I feel this is again a feeling of what's going to happen for many of us at the moment as we start to do that. But it's about again trying to remain in that light, that energy, that frequency, which is what's needed, and sort of like slow things down as well. I mean, that's something else I've had over the last couple of days, about slowing things down, because when we're at sort of like, when you slow things down, you allow yourself the space to start to sort of like connect in and start to receive. You can't receive when you're totally sort of like being distracted, or you're attached to something that in the external world that's going on. Each and every one of us, I mean, I say receive, we are like receivers. We're receiving energy, we're aligning with it constantly. And this is what I meant by about the ebb and flow, is that constantly we're on different frequencies, and also we're sort of like our vibrations are shifting and changing. And as the new vibrations come in, they're going to be integrating, and with that will bring change, and will bring sort of new insights and awareness, and a new perspective and a new vision for each and every one of our lives. But that new vision again is not a singular vision, it's part of a collective vision, a collective consciousness, and a collective sort of design that's going on. And we need to be open to that and allow it to start to sort of integrate and manifest within our lives. Just being open allows us to receive, and that's what we need to be a lot, because a lot of us still feel, you know, the 3D reality, the external world is still sort of like we're moving through it, but we're also very much sort of like we're still impacted by it. And this is what the shift and change needs to come with as well. So there's a lot of shifting and changing, and there's a lot of sort of releasing that's needed, and a lot of it's around sort of growth cycles, but it's also about the ebb and flow of the universe, and the flow of as things start to come in. But it's also about, I've said this before, it's so important that we remain in our vibrations, you know, and we sort of take note of these vibrations, because they're showing us something, they're giving us insight and understanding. You know, when you feel something shift and change within yourself, this is like an insight. This is intuition. This is like insight. This is wisdom. This is also sort of like beings, and your own sort of like being communicated with, receiving something. So it's take note of the messages, take note of the insights that are going on as we start to release and cleanse and clear our own energies, but start to align to this bigger sort of vision that's coming through, this new vision for each and every one of us.